Hi, and welcome to the Intuality AI podcast, where we try to bring you the future as much as we can. And of course, today we're looking at the coronavirus in various European countries and trying to determine what the future might be. We've had a lot of interaction with our audience, and some things we need to say up front. We're not being paid by anyone to do this. We're doing this completely on our own. We're not getting paid. There's no people trying to influence us. In fact, the AI system really runs on its own. We're not even putting anything but data into it. So that's the first thing you need to know. And the second, of course, is that predictions are difficult. This is the best we can do. We're not trying to scare people or spread doom. We're trying to look so we can be as well prepared as possible. And these predictions might very well change. They probably will in one way or another over the next few weeks. When they change, for sure, we'll be out there with another podcast explaining that. But for now, this is where we're at. So please keep an open mind about that. We're just trying to help. The best thing we can all do right now is stay distanced, basically only go out for essential business, wear face masks, all those important health prevention aspects of this so that we can get control of it. Okay, enough of that. Grant, what have you got?
Okay, Howard, we have updates for the podcast that we did just last Sunday for some of the EU countries, the major ones, and I want to just basically show you the update here. And there is some difference if they were to, anybody viewing this were to go to our website and look at this chart, for example, for the deaths in France and compare them to the projections last Sunday, you'd see some difference. And that's just a function of the whole system updating itself with new data as it comes in. So for France, we're showing a death rate that is continuing to grow. As we see it, will be leveling off to some degree in early to mid-June. And but on the other hand, the system is pretty consistently forecasting a second wave, not only for France, but many other countries, including the US and the UK and Canada and so forth. So we're watching this very closely and trying to determine if it's going to occur, when is it going to occur. Our system is making its best judgment on that.
Okay.
So the next one I want to go to then is the cases in Germany. Here we see continued growth in the cases. And there is, again, some flattening that occurs in the mid part of June. But then, again, it kicks up to what we're calling a possible second wave that we just discussed. I just talked about in France and also in Germany, as you can see. And for the death rate in Germany, this curve looks very similar to the one that it projected last Sunday. There is a ramp up sometime at the end of this month and at a higher growth rate to continue, but then some minor flattening of the curve starting in the early part of June through to the mid part of July. But then again, there is a projected second wave that it's coming out with for Germany, starting in the mid part of July. So I'm going to go to now Italy. Italy's growth rate in new cases is continuing. There's a flattening again, very similar to the other countries, beginning in the mid part of June and going through to the mid part of July. And then again, that worrisome second wave that continues to be projected by the system.
Okay, now there's something we need to say about cases. I mean, obviously cases are a function of testing, and presumably as we go on, there is going to be more and more testing. And the other thing about looking at this is there's another way of looking at it. You know, people have been talking about herd immunity, that in some ways, the more people that get this develop immunity to it, which we hope they do, then that's the way of really defeating this thing. So an increase in cases you know, you could look at that either way. You could say, oh, it's spreading, or it's simply a function of testing, or that's actually good because we're actually developing immunity. So I think it's important to be open-minded about the increase in cases and not necessarily get so shocked and anxious about it.
That's correct. Yeah, that's a very good point. And so let me go to showing the predicted deaths in Italy, continuing to grow up through the middle part of June. And then in the mid part of July, a predicted second wave, again, growing at roughly the same rate that deaths are growing at this point. The next country I want to go to is Spain. Spain is a number of cases looking very similar to the other countries, with a flattening of the curve in the middle of July out to the latter part of July, and then back to a predicted second wave. The deaths in Spain as well is pretty much the same shape of curve. It doesn't flatten out quite as much as some of the other countries in June and July, but then again, the growth curve for the second wave is still there. And then Sweden is very much similar to the rest of the countries we've shown, with the cases flattening out somewhat in the mid part of June, and growing back up to possible second wave predicted for the latter part of July. And then for deaths for Sweden, there's a slight curve decrease in the mid part of this chart in June and July. But then again, the second wave is being predicted to kick in at that point. So one thing I want to mention is that all of these curves, and we've mentioned it before, are coming from our artificial intelligence computer system that's been running for various applications for a number of decades. We don't in any way influence the results. These are results that come right out of the computer. And also, we are not being compensated or influenced in any way by any outside organization or individuals, either in the government or private sector. So I'll make that clear. The third thing I want to mention is that we would very much like for you to subscribe. You can subscribe by going to the button down in the lower left-hand corner and clicking there. It's free. This whole service for making predictions for the coronavirus that we're providing is a free service. But by subscribing, you can help us get noticed by YouTube and by Facebook as we go forward here. So Howard, that's about the end of the projections we have at this point.
Okay, well, thank you, Grant. And again, people, we need to remind people, these are projections and predictions. Predicting the future is very difficult. There's all sorts of things that could happen that could change these. The thing could start producing, for whatever reason, different results. If that starts to happen, we would definitely bring that to you as soon as we can. And so the goal here is to be as prepared as possible and really try to take as much of the information that we have, try to make the best preparations for what's next, and hope that we won't actually need them. And that's certainly where we're from. We are not trying to create anything except present what the AI system is giving us. So that's important. Please be open-minded about it. Okay, so take care of yourself, stay well, practice all the good health behaviors, the mask, the distancing, and we'll see you again soon. We will definitely come back in a few days, regardless of what the output is, and hopefully give you an update at that point. So, and please, as Grant said, subscribe if you would like to do that. We'd appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And one thing that I wanted to mention, we might have forgotten here, is that if anybody would like a chart for their particular country, for example, we're following we're making predictions of over 500 different countries and districts within countries around the world. And we would be willing to provide the chart that someone requests and show it on our website for them to go and view.
Okay, so if you have that, just drop a note there, that YouTube or Facebook, and we'll make sure that we get that information up next time. Okay, take care. See you again soon.